Okay, we're looking at the situation at the end of turn three. I'm over at the Middle East at the moment. The Egyptians launched an abortive offensive against the Israelis here near the Gaza Strip, which failed disastrously. The situation in Syria is the Syrian army is demoralised and virtually destroyed, and there's two cities left. As soon as they're captured, Syria will have to surrender. The Israelis have taken a lot of casualties overcoming the Syrian army. They've lost two of their top-rated armoured divisions. So it's not been it could be a bit of a Pyrrhic victory. The Turkish army is actually moving into the Syrian northern provinces, and there's very little to stop them going on there. Over in the Anatolian front, not a lot has happened. It's pretty much a stalemate at the moment. So we move over to Turkey in Southeast Asia here. The Russians, they've got their superiority, but they're really trying to mop up these Turkish units here before they move further to the west. If we look at the Middle East, the Western Asia, Persian Gulf, Iran front, there you can see there's the beginnings of a front line forming up here. There's not been a great deal of activity. Russians had a go at the Americans here, didn't really achieve anything, though those American units are now isolated. We've got also packed Allied forces basically tidying up the remains of NATO. There's quite a few NATO sort of airfields and ports and cities in control that they've got control of there, and they also pack are just getting rid of them because they're behind their lines. We look at situation in Norway. It's pretty much stalemate. The Arctic conditions and the terrain making it very difficult for Russians to do much. They've not got a huge amount of forces there anyway, and even the forces they have got, they can't really make use of because of the way the terrain is restricting stacking points. In trying to attack those valleys, there's only a certain number of units that can attack into the valley. Otherwise, NATO reinforcements are heading north. Yeah, again, they're going to face the same problem. It's a difficult situation for you to actually attack in Norway. So expect that front to stabilise fairly quickly. Situation in Jutland's not looking good. Denmark for the NATO forces, with the Danish line being broken there. I don't expect Denmark to survive much longer. They've got a very low threshold for being shaken and demoralised. We've got Russian forces and Polish forces have captured Bornholm, but it's a bit of a dead end there because they can't get off the island, as you can only use sea transport if you've actually got a port, and there's no port on Bornholm. But anyway, it's captured. The situation on the central front is there's a huge amount of forces engaged here now. Russians' second echelon has arrived and it's gradually swapping positions with the first echelon, which was in a terrible state. Some of those Soviet and East German units that have been on the attack. The NATO line is buckling. It's still We're still making progress through the centre here. Attacks on the flanks up in the north and down in the south that have not been particularly successful. We've got the fact that NATO's got a lot of reserve units stacked behind the front. They're not very good, most of them. All the decent divisions are in the front line, but at least if there is a Warsaw Pact breakthrough, it will be contained. In terms of the air war in the centre area, the Allies are beginning to get the advantage. They've got slightly better aircraft, and they've got much better maintenance die rolls to get them back into the fight once they've flown. So I expect the NATO air power to start having a significant impact on the front. So it's not looking too good for the Warsaw Pact here in terms of actually achieving their objective, which is to really push the border all the way to the Rhine, I would say. In terms of southwestern front, it's very quiet because there really isn't anywhere the two fractions can get a grip on each other. Down in the Dardanelles, there was an abortive Warsaw Pact offensive near Istanbul, which has effectively broken the back of the Bulgarian army. So there's Russian second echelon troops arriving to take over, while the Bulgarians sort of refit their army. And that's it for the end of turn 3, Western Front.